everyone, my name is Scruffy. Today, I am presenting you the first guide for the Nerubar Palace raid in the War Within Season 1, Ulgrax the Devourer. For all people that don't know me, I'm a guide writer for Path of Exile and World of Warcraft on your MMO. If you're interested in some more World of Warcraft guides, like our dungeon guides or class previews, make sure to check out my channel here on YouTube. And it would make me really happy if you would subscribe, but only if you like these type of guides. There will always be seasonal guides for Path of Exile and World of Warcraft here on my channel, but you can also find more guides in written form on your MMO. Today, we are hopping into Ulgrax the Devourer in normal and heroic difficulty. And without further ado, let's start with our Nerubar Palace raid guide. Ulgrax starts off the fight with Stalker's Webbing. This shoots random webs indicated by many swirls. Upon impact, they deal damage to players struck and leave Stalker netting on the floor. He then follows up with Venomous Lash. This attack deals heavy damage to all players and applies a debuff for 4 seconds that deals half of the initial damage every 2 seconds. Brutal Crush is an attack in the direction of the current tank, deals damage to all players in a cone in that direction, and applies 18 stacks of the Tenderize debuff. This debuff reduces all healing received by affected players by 10% per stack, so all players that get hit will be immune to healing for 8 seconds and then recovers it over 10 seconds. Up next is the Brutal Lashing ability. A random player will be affected with a large circle that needs to be soaked by several players. This ability deals damage split to all players inside of it. All players that soak this ability will be lashed to Ulgrax, getting pulled into the boss. During this time, all affected players take light damage over time, and when getting pulled within 8 yards of the boss, they take nearly deadly damage. To soak this ability, you want to make sure to have a little bit of safe distance to the boss, but there's no need to bring it 40 meters away. The pull-in is not that strong. And last for phase 1, Digestive Acid will afflict several players with a debuff for 6 seconds, dealing damage every 2 seconds. The affected players have a green circle around them, and you already know what that means. All players within that 7-yard circle will take damage upon expiration, so make sure to stay away from other players. But instead of running far away, this explosion will remove Stalker's webbings on the floor. Players affected by Digestive Acid should stay close to webs on the floor that were still remaining and clear them with the circle around them upon expiration. When Ulgrax reaches 0 energy, he leaps to the middle of the room with Hulking Smash, dealing damage to all players but deadly damage to every player that remains inside of that area. He follows this up with Shittering Swarm, which causes ads to spawn. These ads are still in a cocoon and slowly start spawning out of them. Ulgrax then starts his Juggernaut charge ability. Ulgrax becomes unattackable and then he charges across the room. His starting position is a large purple portal just off the platform, and a large laser beam indicates his charging path. After 3 seconds, he charges across the room, dealing heavy damage to players struck, knocking them away, and also applying a damage over time debuff to all players after finishing his charge. In the meantime, while dodging his Juggernaut charge, players have to deal with the Ravenous Swarm ads he spawned. These ads need to be gathered by the tank and deal physical damage to the current target. They also cast Disembowel, an attack that deals heavy damage and applies a bleeding debuff. The whole phase 2 will be just dodging his charge and dealing with the ads. When Ulgrax emerges again, he creates a large 30 yards void zone below one player where he comes out, dealing deadly damage to players inside that location. Before he then repeats with phase 1, he casts Ready to Feed. This causes Ulgrax to refuse to move and reduces his damage taken by 100%. In that time, he casts Hungering Bellows, dealing damage to all players in the raid and increasing in its damage done every consecutive cast. The ability reads that Ulgrax screams for food. Remember the ads in phase 2? Upon death, they leave a chunky viscera on the floor that players can click on and get an extra button. Players have to feed Ulgrax with this extra button in order to make him not hungry anymore. This extra button cannot be cast while moving, and you have to be pretty close to him. The longer it takes you to feed him, the more damage he deals with Hungering Bellows. Also, each Hungering Bellow increases the boss's damage done by 10% for each use for 30 seconds. After feeding, phase 1 continues again as in the beginning, and all of this repeats until the boss is dead. Oh, and as per usual, don't forget to loot the boss for your gold and your crests.